Hello everyone, and thank you for choosing this channel for your daily dose of entertainment. I don't know if I'm going to entertain you that much today because I want to make a small philosophical video where I talk about certain things in order to help you not get canceled in 2021. Because today I was juggling between two articles that I wanted to talk about, and I think I'm going to make a video for both of them. One of the articles shows the dumpster fire which is taking place at the New York Times with a lot of journalists there getting canceled. And the other one seems to be a deranged lady which works at the LA Times who had a Republican mow the snow in front of her house and is now comparing him to a member of Hezbollah. That is a very interesting video in and of itself, so I'm not going to spoil that much, but stay tuned on this channel if you want to hear more from it. What I wanted to talk about is cancel culture, which is a term that I really dislike. I didn't coin it, and the only reason that I am using it is so that people know what I am talking about. The word cancel is neutral in its meaning. It doesn't carry any weight. It is something that you do when you cancel your Netflix account or you can cancel your subscription to my channel. It's a voluntary act and it's neutral. What actually is happening here is persecution. People are getting persecuted for what they believe. That is exactly the correct word that should be used instead. Instead of cancel culture, people should use persecution. Yes, the people at New York Times are being persecuted by their peers and are getting fired, not because that they're doing bad journalism, because what does being bad at your job have to do with getting fired in 2021? No, they are getting fired for things they said years ago, or for opinions they had decades ago, or in the last particular case, a guy trying to clarify a subject. The intent doesn't matter anymore. Again, video is going to be on its own, and you should watch it because it's very beautiful. They're being persecuted for what they believe. And this is something that I noticed within the ideology of the woke. Again, I don't like the word woke. It's just like I'm using it so you know what I'm talking about. But if you look at comic books, movies done by woke people, which are trying to explain their ideology to the world, what they are doing when they're creating superheroes or people that they want you to emulate, you notice that their entire worldview, their entire ideology is not focused on actions, but it's focused on belief. In other words, you can be the biggest asshole that humanity has ever encountered. You can be the worst type of person, the most disgusting and most sociopathic person that has ever lived on planet Earth. As long as you believe the correct things, you're absolutely fine. And this is why when you go on Twitter, you will see people that have blue check marks and are completely repugnant. They behave in ways that they would never behave like that in real life. And they say things that are very offensive and disgusting to see. But the reason they are held in high esteem and the reason they don't get persecuted is because they believe the correct things. It's why when you go on Twitter, you will eventually be asked, do you believe that trans women are women? It doesn't matter how you treat trans people. It doesn't matter if you respect the pronouns. It doesn't matter if you have 69 transgender people hired at your company. It doesn't matter if not a single transgender person has complained about your behavior towards them. None of that matters. What matters is in the question, do you believe that? X, Y, and Z. That is the pivotal, most important thing that is now created in this left-leaning Californian American culture. What you believe in. Most important. On the opposite side of the spectrum, you can be the kindest person in the world. You can do the most good in the world. From your own actions, you can uplift entire communities of minority. You can literally improve the life of millions of people. But if you do not believe in the correct things, if you do not say the correct things, you get persecuted. And that is the culture that has now been created. It's not a culture that I want to live in, but it's the culture that exists. And you need to understand it in order to protect yourself. Like, here is an example, and this is usually what I talk on my other channel about video games, but I think it's a great example that I can bring here because it shows corporate culture and how the world works in 2021. You got two people. One of them is Neil Druckmann. Now, Neil Druckmann is a very progressive individual. He is a male feminist, and he is a video game creator. He likes Anita Sarkeesian. He shows contempt towards the gaming community, which is his consumer base. And that's the type of individual Neil Druckmann is. On the opposite side, you have someone like Amy Hennig. Now, Amy Hennig is a person that maybe a lot of gamers don't know by name, but they definitely know her works. She created games like Soul Reaver. She created games like Uncharted. She was an amazing writer and a huge contribution to the video game industry. Now, what's interesting is that Amy Hennig is not the type of person that parrots Anita Sarkeesian. She doesn't believe that there is sexism within the video gaming industry. She believes that the men around her helped her up rather than try to keep her down. And she has positive things to say about gamers. So on one hand, you have a male feminist, which advocates that more women should be placed in positions of power. And in another example, you have a woman that's already in a position of power and her contribution to the industry are just too great to count. What happens? Well, Neil Druckmann ends up ousting Amy Hennig from the company, takes her place, and the media claps at him for it. Why? Because he believes in the correct things. Amy Hennig does not believe in the correct things. Even though when you look at the actions, one person is actually furthering the goal of feminism by being a woman in a position of power in the gaming industry and by setting a positive example that many gamers are loving. But on the other hand, you have this person that shows contempt for the audience, is actually ousting a woman from the company, places himself on top, and then keeps lecturing people about why we need more women in the video gaming industry as he is kicking women out of the gaming industry. But it doesn't matter what his actions are. It doesn't matter. What matters is that he has the correct opinions. He says the correct things. He talks the correct talking points, and he believes in the correct things, which is why the gaming press loves him and barely talks about Amy Hennig whatsoever. In fact, you probably don't even know who Amy Hennig is. Why? Because the culture, which is amplified by the press, is completely suppressing that information. They're gatekeeping that information from you. Here's another example. J.K. Rowling. Now, J.K. Rowling is a very progressive woman. She has numerous times supported left-leaning causes. She is for no borders. She wants immigration. She votes for left-leaning politicians. She supports every little aspect of the progressive agenda except for one. Only one thing she doesn't like. She does not believe that transgender women are women. And she made a post on Twitter saying that she doesn't believe men can have uteruses. And for that, members of the ACLU have criticized her. The ACLU, which is supposed to be the organization that was liberal in nature, that was, we disagree with what you have to say, but we will defend your right to say it. That organization, among many other people, are now persecuting J.K. Rowling, not for her actions, not for anything that she did, but for what she believes. Belief is the most important aspect of today's society. It is a society that is corporate in nature. Plastic people is the model of the correct human being in 2021. Your actions do not matter. Only what you say and how you present yourself to the public. Flapping your mouth is far more important than the actions you do. You can do real life harm. You can actually do bad things as long as you flap your mouth in the correct way. Another example, an activist, someone that is fighting in order to lower the carbon emissions, a pillar of the community, a human being whose actions are so benevolent that I cannot even utter his name. Do you know what he did? he flew with a private jet. Do you think that matters? Do you think that actually cares? All the actors that are standing up and they're like, okay, well, we want to reduce the carbon emissions. And they have private jets. They have muscle cars. They make action movies with explosions and all of the rat-ta-ta-ta-ta, which creates carbon. Unnecessary, I might add. Does anyone hold them to account? Is anyone calling them out on the hypocrisy? Is anyone explaining that, look, what you're doing isn't in line with what you're saying? Not a single peep, not a single person, because the new culture, it's corporate in nature. It's how you present yourself. You can have the worst case of syphilis, but as long as you put on a nice suit and a good tie and act presentable, people will leave you alone. On the other hand, you can be the most clean human being ever. The most perfect, the most Jesus-like figure that you can imagine. But if you don't put on that suit, if you use those raggedy clothes, you will get persecuted. Let me know what you think about my little theory, and I will see you guys in the comment section. Take care.